first thing I'm going to do is create a folder that will house my place marks. So I'm going to go to Add Folder. This box comes up, and for the name, my project is going to be about several of the natural wonders of the earth. Ooh, too wordy, several natural wonders of the earth. There we go. And I'm going to be adding links and images in my place marks, but I'm not going to put it in this folder. And then a brief description. This folder contains place marks about several of the natural wonders of our earth. And I remember too that I need to put my name in the folder. So I'm going to do that here because over on the sidebar you're going to see other students' projects, and it's going to be good for yours to be housed in a separate folder that will be labeled with your name. And that's all I need to do. And now I'm going to say OK. And I'm done with creating my folder. And I can see that it now lives right here, several natural wonders of the world. And I'm going to go ahead and make my first place mark. The next thing I'm going to do is create my first place mark. So I am going to do mine on Chichen Itza, one of the famous Mayan ruins in Yucatan, Mexico. So I need to fly there first before I make my place mark. I happen to know, because I practiced, that you can see it's already coming up here, that all I need to type in is Chichen Itza, and I'm going to go there. For your place marks, you may have to type in a very specific address. For example, if you're doing one that includes your home address, you would definitely have to include your home address and your city, your state, your zip. But Chichen Itza is so famous that all I have to do is type it in. And now we're going to fly to Chichen Itza. And I'm going to go ahead and make my first place mark. Now when I fly there, I would like my place mark to show up a little bit closer than this, although my viewer always can zoom in themselves after they've read my place mark information, and then they can navigate around the area. They can zoom in and look at YouTube videos, they can look at pictures that people have taken, and so on. But I want mine to look a little bit different, so I'm going to go ahead and have it zoomed in to about here. And now I'm going to go to Add Placemark. And the name of this placemark is Chichen Itza. Okay, now what I'm going to do in the box here is to first put in the embed code for my Voki. I'm going to put in some images and a link as well. But this is my basic place mark. You can see that I've got a little push pin here. If you click the push pin, you can find a different icon to use besides the default one. So you might want to find one that fits your particular place mark. Maybe I'll do the sun. And I'll say OK. And now you can see the icon is there, and I'm going to explain how to do all the embedding in the next section of our screencast. I'm going to say OK, and I've made my first place mark. That's done there. Here's a very important step. You can see my place mark is here on the side in my layers area, but by default it does not necessarily belong to this folder yet. I'm going to make sure that it does by holding my mouse down and dragging it in. Now I see that box and drop it. And I know now that if I were to close my folder and then open it up again, there is my Chichen Itza place mark. You want to be sure that all your place marks are housed in that one spot. And the other thing that you always want to do is to save your work when you've done something that takes any effort. So after I've gotten this far and I've made my folder, I've made a first place mark, watch carefully because you'll need to do this too. File, and I'm going to go to save, and save place as. Very important step. It's going to save it as a KMZ file that you know that KMZ means Google Earth. Do I want it on my desktop? No. I want it to go in my Google Earth folder, which I put in my own secured folder. Now, because I'm at home, I have mine in a different spot, but you see it says Google Earth. I'm going to put that folder there and save it. That way, if something happens to this folder on the computer, no matter what, you can retrieve it by going to your secured folder and opening it there. So I will be saving it after every time that I do anything that takes any effort. And that's the basics of creating a placemark and changing the placemark icon and saving your work safely. So now I'm ready to add content to my placemark, and I'm going to need to embed the code for the Voki that I created. And I've already done my recording of the Voki and given information about Chichen Itza here. So I'm going to click Publish Your Voki. And I know that this is a good size player, although if you were doing this for a different project, you might want a different size player. You just have to try them out. And where it says copy, embed code, I'm going to click copy, and now it says copied. So I'm done with that. Back over to Google Earth, and here is my folder, Several Natural Wonders, and I'm going to click the down arrow. I know that's the icon. And in order to edit the place mark, I need to right-click my place mark and go to Get Info. The place mark opens up, and to start off with, my Voki is going to introduce Chichen Itza. So I'm not adding a link and I'm not adding an image. I'm going to embed the code or put the code in. So I'm going to paste it in, and I can see where the code begins up there and where it ends down at the bottom, and click OK. And now if I open up this place mark, I should see my Voki. Takes a minute to load, but there he is, or it, and then I'm going to play it. And you can see that it works. So that's the first thing for this project that we embed. Now I'm going to add a picture to my place mark, one that fits the subject. So here's a great picture of Chichen Itza. I got it from a copyright-free site called Morguefile that I like, although remember that we have a whole big list of copyright-free sites in our bookmarks. So I see from the information you are allowed to copy, distribute, transmit the work, and to adapt the work. Attribution is not required. So that's pretty good. I don't even have to say anything, but I think I probably will say that I got it from Morguefile just because I want to do everything absolutely correctly. But it's pretty cool. You don't even have to say where you got it. So I don't want the page URL because I don't want all this other stuff. I just want the image URL. So I'm going to copy the image URL, and then I'm going to grab Google Earth, and there's my bookmark so far, my place mark, excuse me, and I need to open it though, so remember, right click, get info. Now, don't paste in the middle of code. That's not what you want. If we want this picture below the Voki that's introducing the site, then we put our cursor below the code, and let's see, that's adding an image, so I'm going to click in here, image URL, and paste, say OK, and let's see what we have. Well, that's nothing compared to the Voki, is it? And then I'm going to say OK. And now I always want to test what I've done. Let's see. Oh, there's the picture. Okay, that looks pretty good. Happy. But you know, there's one last thing I want to do here. So I'm going to go to Get Info, and I'm going to go below here, and I am going to say photo courtesy of Morguefile. That way If anybody really wants to know where I got it, they'll be able to find out, and they'll know that I did it all legally and correctly. I'm going to say OK, and now I'm going to look at that one more time and see if my text worked. And it's always good to check to be sure that things are working. And I popped out of Google Earth there. I'm not sure why, but I did. And now, let me pause for a moment. I had to push my screen back up, so now I resumed the recording, and you can see photo courtesy of Morgue File. That's what I had written, so far so good. Chichen Itza, Mevoki, and a picture of Chichen Itza. Okay, now it is time to embed a YouTube video, so I need to hunt for one of those. One thing to remember before you go off and do something different for your project, again, you always want to save. Just saving over here in the layers isn't good enough. So I've got my Chichen Itza Placemark. It is housed in this folder, and I just want to be sure that I've saved it. So File, Save, Save Place As, and again, I'm going to go to the same location where I saved it before with the same name, and I'm going to click Save. And now it has saved everything. So that is what you want to be sure you do before you move on. Now I'm ready to embed this YouTube video that I found. I watched about 3 and I liked this one the best. It was made by National Geographic and has some great information. There are other sites that you can use to get video from. You just have to be sure that you have permission to use the videos to give attribution where needed. So I'm going to scroll down and I can see I've got share, and then I'm going to look over here, embed, that's what I'm looking for. And here's the code. I know that I want a smaller player because it's a Placemark, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to Google Earth, and I need to get my Placemark back. Right click, get info, and I want to go below the picture that I just put in. There is the photo from Morgue File, and I always like to skip a couple of spaces in between my code pastes to make sure that if I need to go back and edit, I can do so easily. So I'm going to press Command V and have to test it out, make sure that it worked. There's my bokeh coming up, my picture of Chichen Itza, and now I have a video about Chichen Itza, and I still have my credits to Morgue File for the photograph. I want to be sure that I save this, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm over here. This is my folder. Remember, every time you do something that counts, File and Save As, Save Place As. Got that KMZ file, and I want to be sure that I save it. I want to replace my earlier version, of course, and good. Now everything I've done is saved.